Yeah, I just got done working out. I'm gonna head up to the attic. I gotta finish something quick, and I'm gonna go shower. I'll meet you at Carpenter's Tavern in about 45 minutes, okay? All right, see you soon. Thanks. Bye. Oh, God. What the hell? What in the hell? I'm out of here. Oh, shit. Oh, goodness. What the hell? Wait, Jason. Wait. Now, I get in your movies you've been able to catch up with people that are running full speed through the forest by walking briskly. I totally respect it. I totally understand. But nowhere in this franchise have you been able to teleport yourself from there to down my steps and back again. That's total horseshit. I don't accept it. But if you're here to kill my ass, I'm going to walk myself back down those stairs. You can teleport your ass back down there. I'll see you on the other side. I'm out of here. The hell with this. Of course you're down there. Welcome back to my channel. Hope everyone's doing well out there. And we are on to Friday the 13th Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. Or the last installment in the franchise that Paramount Pictures had anything to do with until the remake in 2009 when they teamed up with Warner Brothers to give us the Friday the 13th reboot that came out in 2009, which we're getting to. But next on the list, as we all know, is Jason Goes to Hell. Can't wait to talk about that one. Now, Rob Hedden wrote and directed this film. He had actually directed a few episodes of Friday the 13th, the series, if you remember the series from back in the 80s. I remember that series. I used to watch it when it was on TV. And he went to Frank Mancuso Jr., who also produced the series, and he gave him a pitch about taking Jason out of Crystal Lake and taking him to New York City, which birthed the idea for Jason Takes Manhattan. But as we all know, if the first time upon watching this, the disappointment in realizing he's only in Manhattan or Vancouver for the last 20 minutes of the film, which was always a disappointment. It's one of the many things wrong with this film, but we're going to talk about a lot of the many wrong things about this film. Now, Kane Hodder came back to play Jason. He was the one holdover from Part 7. This is the second film that Kane Hodder played Jason in. Peter Mark Richmond plays Charles, and he is the uncle of our main final girl, played by Jensen Daggett. She plays Rennie in this film. She just graduated high school. And we got V.C. Dupree as Julius, and he is my favorite character of this whole film. And we're going to talk about why pretty shortly. Now, Rob Hedden had big aspirations for this film. He wanted to film a boxing match between Julius and Jason at Madison Square Garden. He wanted a scene on the Brooklyn Bridge. He wanted a scene at Rockefeller Center. All these big ideas that he had. And he got to shoot in New York City for one day. And basically it's establishing shots and the Times Square sequence. And that's it. So instead, he had to cut back on his ideas. And most of the film, as we all know, if you're a fan of this series and seen this one, takes place on a ship. And we're going to talk about that. And then the last 20 minutes takes place in Manhattan, which we're going to get to. I have a lot to say about this one because this is definitely a major dip in quality. Now, up until 4, all the films were pretty good. 4 is my favorite. 5 was a dip in quality, although still enjoyable on a sleazy kind of level. 6 was a major upswing in quality because Tom McLaughlin did an excellent job with that film. And 7's entertaining. It's not the greatest. It's not my favorite, but it's still a pretty entertaining film. This is where I can see why Paramount got rid of the rights, gave them back to Sean Cunningham, and said, okay, go away and do a film somewhere else. Because this film definitely didn't turn out the way Rob had envisioned. He's even said that he realized the film's really not that good, and it's not. But being in the film, we hear this radio DJ. We get some establishing shots in New York City, then we're back at Crystal Lake. We hear this radio DJ saying about how the class of 89 is graduating from high school, and they're getting ready to take this cruise to New York City. And we see this young couple. Crystal Lake's open again because we see cabins and the lights are on. This is one of my major issues with this film. It makes no freaking sense. And there's this young couple, although they look like mid-20-somethings. They're supposed to be teenagers, but they look like mid-20-somethings on this boat. And they're about to have sex. And the guy drops the anchor. And all of a sudden, there's a power line across the bottom of Crystal Lake. And when they ran this power line, they laid it right on Jason's corpse from Part 7. Holy shit, what luck is that? The anchor grabs the power line, tears it a little bit, it energizes Jason, Jason's back to life. Very lazy in how they resurrect Jason in this film, but that's the way they go. Jason gets up out of the water, gets on the boat, and the guy had scared his girlfriend with a hockey mask looked like Jason. They must be selling those as souvenirs now. at Camp Crystal Lake at all the shops. And Jason gets his hockey mask back, although it's not the one from part 7, obviously, because Tina ripped the shit out of that one. So Jason kills our 2 teenagers in very boring ways. And here's the next logic gap. Who knew that Crystal Lake had a river that connected to it that took you to the ocean? But it does in this film. Oh, it does. So Jason takes the boat and goes towards the harbor, up the river. Now, why Jason would do that, considering they've already set up that Jason is very protective of his territory, which is Camp Crystal Lake, and obviously there's kids there and there's people there, because there's lights on in a cabin until the power goes out. Why he didn't stay and kill those kids, we'll never know. He decided to take a road trip. Maybe he was hoping to catch up with the Griswolds or something. Who knows? Maybe when they go to Wally World. So he ends up in the harbor. We're introduced to our teenagers, who all look like they're early to mid-20s. And they're getting ready to board this boat. It's going to take them to New York City for their class trip. They just graduated or are about to graduate. It's unclear because Charles, the uncle, who's definitely a scumbag and not a very nice guy, talks about projects that are, but it's supposed to be their graduation trip. Who knows? Most of the script don't make sense, and most of the movie doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and we're going to talk about some of the gaps in the logic besides the ones I just talked about, which right out of the bat, there's a lot of gaps in the logic, and there's more to come. Jason climbs up the chain of the anchor chain onto the boat, and he's going to party with these kids and kill them one by one in very boring, non-gory ways. Now, this film was cut back by the MPA like the rest of the films in the franchise, although nowhere near as much as Part 7. Kane Hodder's even said in the documentary for this one on the Blu-ray disc from that box set that this one was cut back. There was some scenes cut back, but nowhere near the amount of footage that was cut out of Part 7, which I wish that footage existed on film so we can get an unrated version, but that's never going to happen. So the boat takes off, and there's a creepy guy on board that works for the ship that takes over for Crazy Ralph, telling everybody basically they're all doomed, foreshadowing. Like we all didn't know that we're watching. And like I said, Jason starts taking out our teenagers in very boring ways. The kills in this film, there's only one really good kill in the whole film. The rest of them are disposable, very boring, very blah. There's not a lot of tension in this film either. There's no suspense given here. This movie looks like more like a TV movie than a film. Again, definitely a step down in quality, especially compared to Part 6, and even Part 7 looked a lot better than this film. It's very, very TV movie-ish. It even looks more low budget than they had, considering this had the most money up until that point. And eventually the ship starts having problems. There's a fire in the engine room, and they have to abandon ship, which we're only left with Jensen, Julius, Uncle Charles, this other woman, and the boyfriend. And they make it to New York magically. But so does Jason. And right away, Jason catches up with our crew, kills the uncle, and we get our best kill the whole effing movie on the rooftop between Julius and Jason. Now, Julius is my favorite character only because I like him throughout the whole movie when he pops up. I wish we got more of him in this film. He's probably the most interesting character amongst the sea of not very interesting characters. I know Jensen's supposed to be our main final girl, or Rennie is supposed to be our main final girl. And she's attractive and she seems nice, but I don't really care about her story. She has a mean Uncle Charles who, she starts having flashbacks of Jason, and she even has visions of him, which they don't set up for any reason why she'd have visions of Jason at all, but she does throughout the film. And then towards the end of the film, we come to the realization that her uncle threw her in the lake, Camp Crystal Lake. Why, I don't know. Why you'd even keep going back to this lake, considering there's been over 100 disappearances and murders at this camp. But people don't give a shit, I guess, so who cares? And he threw her in to make her learn how to swim through tough love, although a complete dick move. And Jason grabbed her while she's underwater. Now, the timelines don't add up at all, which they never really have in this franchise, but here it's very egregious. It makes no sense at all. Or why she's having visions of Jason. It's complete bullshit. And it serves no purpose to be there other than give Jason a little bit more of a supernatural vibe, because in this movie they introduce, Jason can transport himself like Star Trek. Like he's one place and then boom, he's here. Well, there's no physical way he could have got there. But it happens in this film on more than one occasion. I think at least 3 or 4 times that he magically transports himself somewhere else where he couldn't possibly be. Now, in this franchise, obviously there's plenty of scenes, people getting caught by Jason where they're running and Jason's walking briskly. Now, I know in 3 and 4 he ran, but most of them he walks briskly and he ends up catching up with them. But in no point during the franchise did they set up that he can transport himself, or Jason's even supernatural that can even do that shit. Here they just do it, no explanation, they just do it. And the movie's so dumb that you just, okay, whatever. Jason can teleport now, makes no effing sense, but so none of this movie makes sense. So anyway, they're in New York, we get the best kill scene with Julius boxing Jason on top of this rooftop. And Julius wears himself out and his knuckles are bleeding and he just goes, "Give me your best shot, motherfucker." And Jason grabs him by the collar and punches his head off and it goes flying into a dumpster. The best kill of the movie, honestly the best scene of the movie besides the other best scene of the movie is Jason standing in Times Square and his little run-in with those bitch-ass gang members that are pathetic looking. But those are the two best scenes in the whole movie, I shit you not. Because it actually, if the first part of the movie, the boat part sucked that bad, the ending's really shitty. Now we get Jason chasing Rennie and her boyfriend through the city because by this point everybody else is dead, besides Rennie's dog, who pops up for one last jump scare at the end, which doesn't work at all. And we see them on the subway, which is Vancouver, a diner. And the one cool piece of trivia is Jason comes into the diner and the cook, this big ass cook, comes out and confronts him, and Jason throws him into a mirror and he falls down. Well, that guy that played in that scene, the cook, is none other than Ken Kurtzinger, who plays Jason, who actually took over for Kane Hodder in Freddy vs. Jason. So that's kind of cool because he was a stuntman in the film, so they used him for the cook in the film. And here we get the finale in the sewer of New York City, which who knew? They fled at midnight. They fled the sewers with toxic waste. You heard me right. That is a thing that's in this film. They fled we have a guy, a little bit of an exposition dude in the sewer, who tells them they're going to, at midnight, they fled the sewers with toxic waste. And Jason kills the old man. Rennie takes a bucket of toxic waste that's down there that's sealed. Why? Who knows? Who cares? Throws it in Jason's face. He rips off his mask. And some of the worst makeup on Jason is in this film. I hate Jason's look in this film when he takes his mask off. It looks like total dog shit. My God, it's awful compared to what has come before it, especially coming off of Part 7, which is such a cool design. And this one just looks terrible. Jason gets hit by the toxic waste. Rennie and her, I keep saying Jensen's the actress's real name. Her name in the movie is Rennie, and her boyfriend up on the ladder. Toxic waste doesn't touch them magically, even though it's splashing all over the place. And Jason reverts into a little boy laying there in now water, apparently. In one of the dumbest endings in this series by far. And Rennie and her boyfriend get away, and that's the end of Jason Takes Manhattan, or one of the worst films in this franchise by far. This makes Jason X look like a fucking masterpiece, and that's no joking. I wish I was joking, but it's not. I've never liked this film. Now, I'll give Paramount credit. The advertising campaign for this film was brilliant. I remember seeing the trailer for this film at the drive-ins when my parents took me to see some films, the drive-ins in '89 that summer. Like in June or May or June, and they played the trailer for this film, and I'm like, oh, a new Friday the 13th movie, because I've already seen several since then. And that trailer was awesome. You can find it on YouTube, or if you have the Blu-ray, it's on there. And the poster for it was cool, but once you see the film, it's such a disappointment because, one, they promised Jason Takes Manhattan. Jason don't take shit. He's in Manhattan for maybe 20 minutes, aka Vancouver, and he's only in Manhattan for the shots that are in Times Square. Other than that, and it's not very well directed. It looks like a TV movie. Nothing against Rob Hedden. Rob Hedden seems like a really nice dude on documentary for the film. Seems like a really nice guy, and he meant well, and he tried his best. But overall, this is definitely by far the worst entry in the franchise. It's just not a very good film. It's boring. There's no suspense. The kills are lifeless except for Julius's kill, which is the best one, and one of the best ones of the whole series, actually. It's a great kill. It's just in a shitty film. None of the deaths, besides that one, make any impact at all. They're not really cool, and they're just throwaway kills, and there's no suspense here at all. It doesn't even seem like there's an attempt at suspense here. And the supernatural elements they introduce don't feel like they belong in this movie at all. I don't like him here. Yes, Jason is kind of supernatural in the fact that you can't kill him. But other than that, the whole transporting shit and Jason reverting into a little boy at the end, It's bullshit. It is. It's terrible. It makes no effing sense. And honestly, this is why we didn't get another Friday the 13th film until Jason Goes to Hell in '93, and that's why Paramount gave up on the franchise after this. It was not very well received by fans. I think it only got 0% on through from the critics if you look at the Rotten Tomatoes score. Which who cares about that? It doesn't matter anyway. These films never got good reviews, but this one definitely is not a good film. I would give Jason Takes Manhattan a 2 out of 10, and I'll give that 2 out of 10 for the Julius scene and the Times Square scene. That's the only two scenes that are even worth watching in this film, and you can find both of those scenes on YouTube. You don't even have to watch the whole film and subject yourself to it. I just sat down the other night and watched this again for, I don't know, this is probably about the 10th time I've seen it. And I don't plan on watching it again for a long time. I only watched it to do this review. Yes, 2 out of 10 for Jason Takes Manhattan. What are your thoughts on this film? Leave a comment down below. Let me know. Hit the thumbs up, hit the like button, share this video. I greatly would appreciate that. I'll be back next week with some more reviews and Jason Goes to Hell. Until then, I hope you all have a great weekend, and bye.